High speeds, wet roads, lack of lighting, and an inexperienced driver all seem to have played a role in a horrific collision Saturday night near the West Seattle Bridge. In the left lane, we see a car driven by a 16-year-old girl that appears to be traveling very fast. We're going to zoom in a bit here. Now that 16-year-old driver traveling with 3 passengers is going to change lanes to the right and then attempt to make the Harbor Island exit, a sharp turn that appeared to be totally unlit on the night of the crash. Now, unfortunately, the driver failed to negotiate the turn. We're going to zoom in even more, and here we can barely see what seem to be sparks flying as the car hits the barrier and then plunges over it, falling nearly 80 feet before landing on its roof. Here's the view from another camera, also very zoomed in. We see the car hitting the barrier before plunging over the side. The driver was trapped inside the car. 2 passengers were able to self-extricate, and 1 passenger was found ejected from the vehicle. Now the driver and ejected passenger were both transported to the hospital in critical condition, while the other 2 passengers were transported in serious condition. Tragically, that ejected passenger, an 18-year-old named Jaden, died at the hospital. Jaden's family has started a GoFundMe to help pay for funeral expenses. There's a link to that in the video description. Please consider supporting it if you're able. Now look, in most of my videos, we like to laugh at and make fun of the bad drivers, but there's nothing funny here. A very young, new driver made a series of terrible choices, which ended one life and permanently changed many others. So why make this video? Because this crash was preventable, and one of my main goals with this channel is to help people make better driving choices. Now, I'm not a professional. The crash is still being investigated, but it seems that there were a number of different factors that came into play to cause this crash. I think the first thing that we need to look at is speed. Compared to the other cars that we see, the driver of the car that crashed seemed to be going very fast. Now here we see a vehicle taking the Harbor Island exit at normal speeds. You can see they slow down quite a bit to make that curve. Compare that vehicle speed to the speed of the car that crashed. You can see that the crashed car is going much faster. The design of this road likely played a role in why the driver felt comfortable going as fast as she was. Although the speed limit on Highway 99 is 50 miles an hour, this looks and feels like a freeway, and drivers often treat it as one. There is a single warning sign advising drivers to slow to 30 miles an hour to make the curve, but that sign itself is quite close to the curve. And with the wet roads and the speed that the driver was going, it's likely that the sign was too late and she didn't have time to slow down before impacting the wall. The vehicle impacted around here and then fell to the street below. Now, although we do see streetlights in this Google Street View footage, if we look at footage from the night of the crash, it appears that the lights were not operating. If you look here, you can see flashlights from police officers illuminating the off-ramp as they search for the exact crash location. Look how dark that curve is. It appears that none of the streetlights there are functioning. The streetlights that we can see appear to be in the foreground on the West Seattle Bridge. Unsure why the streetlights were out, whether it's maintenance, repair issues, or even copper theft. One thing that does seem likely is that this driver, if she was not familiar with the area, probably had no idea how sharp that turn was until her headlights hit the wall, at which point it was too late. So what are the main takeaways from this terrible crash? The big one is speed. If the driver had been going more slowly, she likely would have seen how sharp the curve was, even without the streetlights. The darkness and wet roads also worked together to make this higher speed even more dangerous. Another takeaway seems to be seatbelts. I don't know if the young man who was ejected was buckled up or not, but it seems likely that he wasn't, considering 2 other occupants were able to leave the car on their own after the crash. Seatbelts do save lives. It sounds like a cliche, but it's true. And even if you don't care about your own life, in a crash, unbelted passengers can injure or kill other people in the car as well. Now, according to the CDC, motor vehicle crashes are the leading cause of death for teenagers in the United States. If you have teens who are learning to drive or are newer drivers, please talk to them about the possible consequences of speeding and distracted driving. Sometimes I feel like we need to bring back the old blood on the highway style driver's ed videos to drive home to new drivers just how big a responsibility driving is, and how horrible the consequences can be when careless mistakes are made. Of course, if you don't want to traumatize your kids with gory videos, you could still make them watch my crash videos so that they know what to watch out for. Now finally, I think either WashDOT or SDOT need to look into the safety of some of these off-ramps. This is not the first time traffic cameras have captured a vehicle crashing off of a highway exit. This crash in 2023 took place just 2 miles south of the crash we looked at tonight, an exit off the same freeway. It's hauntingly similar to the crash on Saturday. In this crash, the driver was the only person in the car, and he was killed. I don't know if anything can be done to make these ramps safer, even if it's just more signs posted farther from the exit, warning drivers about an upcoming sharp curve. But I do think it's something that should be looked at. If you've made it this far, thank you. This wasn't an easy video to make, but it seemed like an important one. Thanks again to Tim Durkin for giving me permission to use his photo from the crash scene, and a big thank you to all of my channel members. I really appreciate your support. Special thanks to my Super STC supporters, Mark Siddell, Bluto is watching, Opa, Maria Brown, Digiday, Maury, and Troy. You guys are the best. Thank you so much. If you'd like to support the channel, you can click the join button under the video or follow the link in the description. That's it for tonight. Until next time, slow down, phone down, eyes up, and thanks for watching.